What is up, friends and antagonists, both minor and major? I'm Essell, and welcome to, I guess this is the year-end video. I promised it, and here's what we got. So I was trying to figure out how to construct a year-end list, and as you all know, I am allergic to making numerical lists of games or other media, and I was like, hey, you know, I do like making tier lists. So we're gonna, instead of doing a top 10 or a top 5 or whatever, we got a tier list here. You guys can't see the layers, but rest assured there are around 20 games or so here in the edges of the screen that we're going to pull in at random and rank on a scale from S tier to tier. None of these games are terrible. I wouldn't be telling... These are all games that I had thoughts on and things that I want to get some quick takes about before we move on. Nothing here is terrible. Everything here has some sort of redeeming factor to it. We have nothing this year that I played that which is absolute garbage. Even perhaps the one meme game you're thinking of right now. And I'm excited to talk about some games we enjoyed in 2019. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know what you think of the format. And without further ado, we'll get started though, because I want to get to the content. Let's pick, here we go. This is group number 10. This is a great one, Fire Emblem Three Houses. We could say a lot about this game. I played it for a very, very long time, and I'm probably going to go back in and play for a lot longer. I think gut check says we're putting it in the A tier. I think we're going to reserve S. We need to figure out our ranking system as we go. This is the first time I've done this. So we'll figure that out as we go along here, but my gut feeling is that Fire Emblem Three Houses is a phenomenal, phenomenal game that is perhaps a little bit too niche for its own good. I absolutely adored my time with it and thought that the systems were phenomenal, but I think as a Fire Emblem game, inherently, the tension between the pretty strong narrative and, most importantly, the phenomenal character writing is always going to be punctuated by this awkward pacing of, like, level, narrative chunk, level, narrative chunk. So that for me stops the formula from being, like, just sort of, like, transcendent, but it's a very, very high A, probably. It's on the cusp here. This game was phenomenal. I would love to play more of it. The thing that's holding me back is again, with the structure-wise, I have to replay a lot of the game again if I want to get to the other narrative sections. And for me, that's a little bit frustrating. But aside from that, the mechanics have been so much more, have been smoothed out, have been refined over the years since the GameCube games I played, like Path of Radiance recently and last year. And what we have is a tactics game that rewards clever thinking, rewards, you know, long-term strategy as well as quick thinking in terms of tactics, creativity, and all of this in a phenomenal package that also just so happens to include some of the most endearing and well-constructed characters I've seen in a game in a long time. So we'll think this might get bumped up. We'll think about it. But man, there were a handful, not just one or two, but a handful of characters who I judged early on, who I ended up becoming super attached to. The writing is fantastic as always, and there's just so much to love here between, again, the character writing, all the fun base building mechanics, which are a phenomenal addition to the series, and of course the tactics at the core of the whole thing. So absolutely phenomenal package, not to mention the score. It's all good stuff. We love it. I'm going to go in order, I think, maybe from here on out, because I don't want to misclick. I don't have the groups labeled in layers here. But if we have stuff that's like Game of the Year contender, we're going to put it off to the side for now. Play the Spire. Ooh, another one. This is going to be... this is a tricky one. Why is it large? I don't know why it's large. I'm sorry about that. Maybe it goes here. This is a tricky one. We'll have to revisit both of these. So the Spire is an indie roguelike deck builder. Continue to add adjectives as you will. Developed in part by Clay, giving it its very unique and sometimes divisive art style. It's a phenomenal game. I have never played a deck builder this good. I have barely played roguelikes this good. It's got so much depth to it, and another reason why it perhaps stays shy of the S tier is that it's like kind of didn't come out last year, so I'm like, I hesitate to say that 2019's development path for Slay the Spire was worthy of extreme praise, but it is at the same time. So absolutely phenomenal game. There's now, I believe, 4 classes, but started with 2 in late 2018, up to 4 now. Games released on many platforms, and it's worthwhile to play on all of them. It's a game that really, really rewards whatever you put into it. The more you think, the more you engage with the systems, the more you learn about the cards and the items and the characters, the more you get out of it. And you create these phenomenal machines of decks that really sort of give you this incredible bite to want to keep coming back to do it again. That one time you got an infinite deck, that one time you made, this crazy victory happen with a bizarre side strategy, or even just the time you won after 100 turns with poison. It's always worth coming back for another hit of that phenomenal energy. So one of my favorite games of the year by far. If I was making a top 10, this would probably be in the top 5, and I just cannot recommend it enough. I think these two are also contenders. We're gonna put these off to the side because these we're gonna, yeah, Sekiro and Control are probably my top 2. Spoilers. Plague Tale. This one's hard. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I'm gonna try to like avoid my usual, long bemoaning of decisions and just sort of go with where my gut check is. Plague Tale. I really enjoy my time with Plague Tale. It's a phenomenal single player narrative experience. Plays a lot like, God, I'm trying to think of a good touch point. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Fairly dark, puzzly, in this case stealth more than puzzles. Action narrative thing, but the focus is heavily on the narrative. As a stealth game, I enjoyed it way more than I was expecting. Plague Tale's got a lot to offer in terms of its core mechanics, in terms of its core cast, the narrative. Like I said, I'm gonna get to that in a second, but in terms of a gamey game, it's stealth. It's a lot of stealth stuff going on. You're moving through the French countryside as this rat plague is spreading, and there's sort of undertones of your family's been murdered in the first section, and you're trying to sort of unravel several mysteries at once and figure out how you're going to survive, if you can fight back against the forces that are causing all of this, and then after some time skips, the stakes ratchet up. So narratively I was hooked, but I didn't think there was a lot that was like too out of the ordinary. It felt very conventional as far as narrative structure goes, although I really, really did like the time skip. Like I said, I don't want to talk about too many spoilers throughout this, but just sort of general warning at this point that there may be things that could be construed as spoilers, but I won't talk about like specific details in games if I can avoid it. So Plague Tale, I thought, again, time skip was phenomenal. Really, just kind of like Last of Us did the same thing, where you're like, ooh, I didn't see that one coming. It feels really good to have this sort of the plot feel extended in a very natural way. So really, really enjoyed that, and I love the character. Again, this is a game that's very character focused. I love the cast. Amicia and Hugo, very well realized characters with very good internal conflicts. The side characters all very well realized. Just nothing that like kind of like gripped me and said, yeah, this is the best game I've ever played. It was good. It was real good. I could definitely recommend it very easily. And again, note, we got S through D here, but those are all games that I would generally recommend. Even down to the C and D tier probably. Unless I'm like, hey, don't play this one. You can rest assured that I enjoyed all these games a lot. And B tier is just like a very solid experience. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Not much more to add to that, other than what were we? Oh, there we go. Other than that, yeah, solid. Really enjoyed it. Good time. Ooh, okay. Now, here's where we get to some of the reservations. Kingdom Hearts 3. I spent the better part of late 2018 or late 2019 playing Kingdom Hearts games, and I am now. I was just early looking through my game cases to see what physical games I wanted to add to the list. I bought the deluxe edition. I pre-ordered it. I felt emotional just looking at it, and yet, man, this game was so average. Which maybe means it should be in C. Maybe D's a little rough because the D stands for disappointed. It's a very average game. It's fine. Nothing like it's not bad. It's fine. Like if you wanted to play Kingdom Hearts, sure, it's fine. It's the most AAA polished, edges off it's been. The series is it's good. It's fine. And for me, I think a lot of the joy in Kingdom Hearts comes from the rough spots where the games get really weird. I didn't play the entire series. I played the compilations to sort of get the general gist of things. And yeah, I mean, it was good. Kingdom Hearts 3 was fine. Again, big budget. Things are really pretty. Engine is nice. Everything was sort of fine. The plot was very disappointing. It really just threw everything off the rails and just sort of gave us a massive conflux of all the characters at the ending, and we lost track of like most major plot threads, and they just sort of resolved random things here and there. It felt like MGS4 in that they were trying to string together this unbelievably wide and varied universe of dozens of completely unrelated plot threads at the same time, and it just collapsed into this mess. Except MGS4 then rides that into a, fireworks show of nonsense and absurdity that sort of makes it the culmination of the series with the 90-minute credits movie of a narrative finale. And here we have kind of like the least satisfying ending possible. It was fine, but like, well, like, what was the point of the whole chess thing from the trailer 7 years ago or whatever it was? It was fine. I just, looking for more. But at the same time, with the amount of pressure this game had on it, how could it do any better than this? The fact that it wasn't a failure in the first place is a testament up to its success, and yeah, it was fine. Astral Chain. So here's the thing. I love Astral Chain. It was real good. I think it goes here, though, in a games that are real good, but I might not think about that much in a year. I do think about Astral Chain a lot, though, so maybe, don't treat these as ordered. I don't know why the Spire box is so large. That's bothering me. We'll figure it out later. Astral Chain, developed by Platinum Games, well known for their series of high-octane character action games, or whatever that genre is called, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, stuff like that. I didn't play much of Bayonetta, but I absolutely adored Metal Gear Rising, so I was very excited for this to come out on Switch late now last year. This is 2020 when I'm recording. And the game is really, really solid. It's the combat mechanics are extremely unique. You're managing both yourself as a part of the police force, whose name I'm forgetting. See, that's the problem. The narrative, it was fine, but it was like very generically sci-fi anime. And very, very Evangelion. As somebody who hasn't finished watching all of Evangelion yet, I know, don't roast me too hard, but I'm working on it. It's like shamelessly which is fine. Evangelion's really good, but it's like not unless I was like, yeah, you got the cops and you got the evil scientist and you got the very obviously evil guy who's like surprised he's evil. It was fine. I think the main draw is the phenomenal character action with the main characters, and then the 5. Part of the reason I'm forgetting is that a lot of the stuff's in like Latin, because they're trying to go for like Legion and Legatus kind of naming sequences, and that was, or naming patterns, and that was fine. All of it's fine. You can switch between 5 different stands, effectively. JoJo stands, your captured Pokemon of the invading alien force, whatever you want to call it. You have your character, and then you also have your Legion. And by controlling both at the same time, using different control sticks and different maneuvers, you have this phenomenal system where when you enter like this flow state of controlling 2 things at once, there's very few character action experiences I've had that feel that good. It is such a joy to play this game once you get into the flow of things. But getting those a little tricky. It's a lot of extraneous mechanics, like the gun, like it doesn't do a lot. Like in most character action games, it just feels kind of there, and that's sort of whatever. A lot of stuff feels sort of there, and there's a lot of side quests that feel sort of there. And well, I thought the main campaign was very well paced, and I really did enjoy a lot of the plot beats, despite them being predictable. There's a lot of good set pieces. It's a very good set piece game. It's a very, very, very enjoyable action experience that I highly recommend. But I don't think it it gives me like this sort of transcendent, yes, best game of all time kind of vibes. But really enjoyed it. I would play more of it. I felt compelled to play side missions. I didn't really want to 100% it because a lot of the side stuff was very boring. But a lot of fun. Enjoyed it. Good voice acting. Good cast. Solid stuff. All right, we did that one. Here we go. Nice one. Sword and Shield. Ooh, I might have to put this one off a little bit. I need to think about this one. This was tough. We'll come back to that. All right, next one. Luigi's Mansion 3. That's an easy A tier for me, I think. I don't feel like extraordinarily passionate about it, like I might some of the stuff that I want to put in S. Like I might bump Fire Emblem up. But LM3, for those who don't know, is the 3rd game in a series that begins with Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, not Luigi's Mansion 2, on the 3DS, and now this. I think it's a phenomenal example of A tier, because this is the game where like literally nothing went wrong. I can't think of anything I'd change, except maybe some more depth on a couple mechanics and a couple systems. That's like it. The game is super, super well constructed. It's intended as a kid's game. It's not the most complicated game in the world. The combat's not that difficult. There's not that much depth to it. That's okay, because it's like a ton of fun. Engaging with the environments is always incredibly rewarding. Everything you do in the game, it just comes to life. And this is one of the big things that shows off the distinction between the GameCube era and the Switch era for Nintendo. Where in GameCube, it's very focused on systems and gameplay, and here we have that as well. But beyond that, because of the extra hardware possibilities we have here, and just technology evolving over time, we have the ability to not just engage the environment, like pulling a tablecloth off a table with the vacuum, but now like everything is interactive. Like literally every object in the environment you can vacuum or interact with in some way. The new jump mechanic caused a lot of funny stuff to go on. And of course, let's not forget the star of the show, Luigi, who is not just hilarious as a concept, but a phenomenal mechanic. And, really a great part of the game's experience. The bosses were all very fun, very enjoyable, very, cute Luigis Mansion ghost designs. I enjoyed it. It was super fun. I just don't think it's like a game it's going to haunt me for the rest of my days. As for the S tier is for games that are going to, like, haunt me. The Dark Souls, the Bloodborns, the Nier Automatas of the world that I'm just, like, I think about all the time. It's good, but I didn't feel like it, left a deep impression on my soul, which is why Fire Emblem probably goes up. Maybe Slay the Spire as well. The Surge 2, okay. Alright. I don't even know if... my heart said D tier, and I don't even think that... we might not even have an tier game on this list. We'll see. The Surge 2, I am stunned to report after, like, 2 years of memes, was totally fine. I didn't finish it, because we didn't have time on stream to do it, we sort of lost interest, but it was, like, totally fine. Like, eminently a fine game. They fixed a lot of the issues with the first game and introduced a genuinely super, super interesting Souls-like mechanic in the way that they distribute flask recharges, or sort of whatever their injectables. The system is really, really interesting. It's kind of a riff on Bloodborne's offense-focused health systems that I think solves an unbelievable amount of problems and also creates a lot of super dynamic in-combat decision points. Because as you're doing damage, you're filling up your batteries as you're in combat, you don't have a stock of vials or flasks or injectables to turn to, but you build them up during a fight. So you always have this moment of like, oh my god, can I survive the boss attacks just to get another charge so I can heal up again? Or do I want to use that on a different injectable to have a defensive buff or an offensive buff? Super, super engaging. Loved that. The game's still like really clunky and the plot is all over the place. Technically, it's kind of a mess, but I think it is a welcome entry into the pantheon of Souls-likes, just not a stellar and phenomenal one. If you like the Surge 1 in concept, I think you're going to like the Surge 2 way better. The world is super well put together. I do miss the really claustrophobic... One of the things I liked about the Surge, despite it being utterly broken and miserable to play, was the environments. They were really, really cool. There's very few games that want to commit to the really, really claustrophobic environments that it went with. There's so many side areas that are just like service elevators or service hallways, or like these walls of wires and these tiny, tiny, barely character-sized auxiliary hallways or maintenance sectors. Super cool. Love the aesthetic. They didn't push it enough, and we lost that here a little bit, but instead got a much more engaging semi-open world that left me feeling like a lot more was possible, and I felt a lot more engaged with it. So enjoyed it. Not great, but much more than the first. RE2. This is another one's on the cusp, I think, of S tier. We're actually going to bump up Fire Emblem. Because, man, it's good. Oh, hold on. Leave the line. Great. Resident Evil 2 is a remake, and it's a really, really good one. I've been pretty hot on remakes the past couple of years, and I think this is a testament to why. I never played Resident Evil 2. And what I got is, like, the definitive Resident Evil 2 experience. I didn't play the original, but what I got is something that I think is probably better, and that, of course, is arguable, but man, this game is real good. Third-person shooter, extraordinarily atmospheric. It's not like, I don't think the Resident Evil games are really horror games per se. They're much more thrillers. I don't feel like, the type of deep, intense personal fear that I feel in a good horror game. It's a much more tension and atmosphere-driven game. A couple segments in that game are extremely scary, especially with the man of the hour himself, Mr. X, and his ability to break down walls that I thought were not walls, that I thought were walls that could not be broken down. There's some Switch clips going around of that, of course. But yeah, it's super good. Like, I think this game deserves a ton of recognition. People are talking about this a lot in end of year lists, like, oh well, it's a remake. How good could it be? But like, guys, it's like really good. It takes a ton of skill to expertly craft a game that is super faithful to the original while also delivering a fresh experience that's accepting to both new players and people returning to the game. The technology built on is superb. Like, the game is just visually stunning. Every character pops really well, really engaging environments, and the puzzles are still great. They're good puzzles. I played Resident Evil 1 recently. The puzzles are great. They're not super complicated, but they're really fun. Kind of like Luigi's Mansion. And Luigi's Mansion, I found out recently, it's a Resident Evil game. Surprise! So that was a fun little thing this year of playing both a lot of Luigi's Mansion and Resident Evil. We got a lot of games set in creepy mansions that involve playing card motifs and puzzles. And surprise, at the same game. Just one, you're not shooting the zombies, you're vacuuming them. RE2, super good. Bosses are really engaging against, especially Mr. X. A lot of really tense environments. Some of the rainy hallways are just absolutely dripping with just every step threatening, and it's so good. So can't recommend it enough. It's phenomenal. I stopped just short because it is a remake. As much as I want to praise the expertise it requires to translate a game, you're not just porting it. You're not just updating the engine. You're literally translating the mechanics into a new language. The language from a fixed camera shooter to a third-person shooter makes a lot of things different, and in this case, reshapes how you engage with every enemy in the game. And that means they have to think about things in new ways, and it's really exciting how they managed to do that. But it's a remake, and it was super good. So, side modes were fun. Like playing with the tofu. That was good. Solid experience. Really enjoyed it. Again, custom S tier because it's one of my favorite games of the year. Probably top 5. It was super good. But, you know, it is. DMC 5, also A tier. Capcom, this is if we're looking back on the year, we're getting a little long on the video here already, but looking back, it's the year of Capcom. Between Monster Hunter, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil 2, Capcom went from like a very slumbering period to a period of absolute resurgence and dominance in AAA for the beginning of the year. This was unbelievable. DMC 5, after I played the whole series leading up, except for 2, because it's 2. And good lord, they're good. They're really stupid, but they're so good. There are so many moments in DMC 3 onwards that are just like these unbelievably transcendent sort of comic moments. Like all these shots in cutscenes or set pieces of just absolutely absurd things happening. And you can't tell whether it's supposed to be serious or not. In DMC 4, there's a shot I will never forget of Dante getting knocked back in a fight, and he falls back through like 12 church pews. And as he's falling back, the church pews like stack up, and the last one's upright, and he's like falling backwards. And as he lands, he doesn't just like stand up. He like sits back and reclines with his arms spread in the last church pew and crosses his legs to continue quipping at his opponent. That's amazing. That's like the best. This is the best video game. DMC 5 ratchets all that up to 11 while being a love letter to the series. There's a ton of details that I spotted because I had just played the previous 4 games, or 3. 2 was an odd game, so we're going to ignore 2. But I played 1, 3, and 4. And they were all super good, and the mechanics, very dutifully but really excitingly built on 1, 3, and 4's mechanics, really aggressively, so you have really familiar movesets for Dante and Nero that expand in really exciting ways, and then you add V on top of that, whose moveset was just super engaging. You have, I think, maybe the best character action game I've played, unless you want to count Nier, in which case it's got to be Nier Automata, but it's not really a game. It has the mechanics of a character action game, but it's not. So, but man, DMC 5, super good. Spoilers, Virgil's in it. That's not really a spoiler. Virgil's great. Love Virgil. The characters are great. Bringing back like really the whole cast from the series, plus new characters like Nico. Just an absolute joy. It's the best roller coaster ride of the year, and I had an absolute blast with it. So I just think like I finished it and I was like, yeah, that was good. So I think it stopped short of being like a game that I've thought endlessly about, but man, is it good. Definitely play it if you haven't. Risk of Rain 2. Ooh, easy. I almost want to put this in the S tier. You know what? I think I will. Man, Risk of Rain 2 is a really good game. I played a lot of the first one when it came out in 2011, 2012. Maybe I should have more music queued up. Oh, we got plenty of music queued up. This episode's music is brought to you by OC Remix, where I get a lot of my stream and video music. And this is the album Chronology, a jazz tribute to Chrono Trigger, which I thought was a good fit for a retrospective. Chrono Trigger, by the way, I played it last year, and it was, oh my god, oh, it was so good. Risk of Rain 2 is a roguelike that has been evolving for the past year. It's in early access still and still getting massive updates, so this is not the final take. Same with Slay the Spire. Man, the game's really good. It is another game that I think deserves an unbelievable amount of respect for successfully translating mechanics from format to format. In this case, from a side-scrolling, I'm gonna say MOBA-style roguelike, where MOBA-style characters, right? So it's a character, you play as character classes that have 3 to 4 abilities, and they're on, the QWE or whatever, right? So it's MOBA influenced. That's a long story. We don't have time. We're already running pretty long on this video. We got more stuff to get through. So, Risk of Rain 2. Long story short, it is a super engaging, super replayable roguelike that both has long-term upgrades as well as an incredible depth of mechanics across as many classes. It's got multiplayer that more or less functions. That's sick. And it's been getting content updates dropped month after month that are dramatically changing the game in ways that I wasn't expecting. And we're still looking for more, and that's before any DLC or stuff like that. Long story short, I've had an absolute blast with it. I play it regularly. I don't play much on stream, but I like playing it personally, and it is one of my favorite games of the past year by a long shot. Oops, I just dragged the ruler. Dicey Dungeons, I think comfortably in the same tier as Astral Chain and Plague Tale, where I didn't play it a ton. I really enjoyed Dicey Dungeons. I think I wrote a whole video script about it. The game's super smart. It is one of the cleverest roguelites I've seen in a long time, and fits closer to the Slay the Spire than you'd expect. It is a deck-building roguelike based on dice, and it's got a lot of good stuff going on. Made by Terry Kavanagh, the creator of VVVVV and Super Hexagon, working with the same soundtrack artist Chipsel, and the experience is an unbelievably phenomenal aesthetic candy store. It's just bright colors, these phenomenal soundtracks, absolutely lovely all the way through. The game gets brutal when some of its challenges, unless they rebalance some of those, it got real hard. But between the game's 6 classes, everything is based on dice, everything is just sort of very nicely packaged. And there's not a lot of replayability because everything is challenge based. So you're trying to get through 6 challenges for each of the 6 characters, and then you can replay them, but you kind of got through it. So a game that I really enjoyed. I'd recommend heartily if you like roguelikes, if you like deck builders, if you like dice, or just having a good time. But not a game that I have gone back to too often, and I haven't finished all the challenges. I didn't feel super compelled to. Really, really good. The mechanics are really brilliant, but these two have dominated my roguelike time in the past year. Bloodstained, yeah, I really wanted to like it more, and I did like it a lot. It's a little too janky. If you like, for those who don't know, Bloodstained is I think, and it's important for being like the first big successful nostalgia Kickstarter after Mighty No. 9 happened and exploded and nearly killed Kickstarter games, and a couple other missteps like Yooka-Laylee. We finally have a game based by a team of veteran developers led by Koji Igarashi himself, the CEO of Castlevania, who since left Konami and now worked on this. And Bloodstained was great. I really enjoyed it. It's a phenomenal Metroidvania game. It is Castlevania to a fault. Like, it is extraordinarily Castlevania. Like, if somebody had called this Castlevania, I wouldn't have blinked. It's the same. It's just a little janky. Did I play on Switch? I think I played on Switch. I'm struggling now. It came out on Switch. I may only check out. Actually, let me see. I have Steam here. Oh, I played on Steam. I'm sorry, I lied to you. I played on Steam. My experience was fine. I didn't have any big major technical issues outside of one weird clip I did accidentally during a boss fight. That kind of made us reset. But it's fine. It's kind of janky. A lot of the game feel is just very awkward. Things are very stilted. A lot of animations sort of happen. Like you summon a summon enemy skill using magic, and there's not a lot of fluidity to it. But the movement feels very solid, very Castlevania. Very much enjoyed that. The weapons are varied, and I felt a lot of the systems regarding weapons are very odd because some of them were a lot of weapons were locked behind this Kickstarter currency, where you'd get an 8-bit coin that you'd upgrade over time to unlock certain of the Kickstarter backer weapons. A lot of stuff like that was very awkward because there was just this whole menu of dozens and dozens of weapons that you can only get one of at a time, which was kind of meh. And regardless, Bloodstained was, as a game with a very well realized world, phenomenal environments, really, really funny enemy voice lines, which again, very Castlevania. I really enjoyed it. I think if you like Castlevania stuff, if you probably played this, so I don't mean to tell you to, but if you're thinking about it, like, give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. I just think it's got more issues than to get out of the C tier, because I think it's I mean, maybe B. Honestly, I had a great time with it. I really enjoyed it. It just there's some jank going on. All right, where are we? Let's see. Not too many more. Gitana Zero. Ooh. I think this goes in B. I want to put it in A little bit, but Gitana Zero is a super good indie game. Aesthetics very reminiscent of Hotline Miami, of course. Very VHS sort of centric aesthetics going on. Absolutely banging soundtrack. It's from Devolver. You know what to expect. It's a Devolver game. It's got a great narrative. It's not got a great narrative. It's got a very engaging core conceit, and it's just a blast. I don't want to explain more about the narrative because I will start to get into the details a little too much, and I think the game's best experience just by going through it. But rest assured that it is one of the slickest and smoothest action games I've played in a very long time, featuring some really exciting mechanics, and man, it's a blast. Again, much like a lot of the beat your games, it's not a game I've thought about a ton since I played it, but all my memories of it are just super positive, and I had a blast playing it. So if you ever see this game popping up on a sale or whatever, definitely give it a shot. If you like platformers, if you like action games, if you like time shenanigans, it's an absolute joy to play. And like most stuff published by Devolver, it's got some really nice sort of, you know, edgy, fun thriller plot going on. Some great secrets. I didn't explore all the secrets. I know there's some secret endings and side levels and stuff, and trust me, it's a blast. Give it a shot. All right, next up we have, oops. Hey, how do I scroll? Okay, sorry about that. Cadance of Hyrule. I think we'll also go here for games that I really enjoy but haven't thought about much as I played them. I loved Cadance of Hyrule. It's super good. I love Crypt of the Necrodancer. It's super good. The fact that this game exists is baffling and exciting to me, but I just didn't play it much, so it's fine. I like Crypt. I'm not very good at it. And the appeal of the game is that it's sort of a really bold experiment with the structure of Crypt of the Necrodancer, in that instead of these totally pre-generated roguelike levels, you're instead taking chunked sort of Zelda riff mechanics, where you have dungeons and things you're unlocking on like a larger, broad, like basically a Zelda randomizer. This game is effectively a fusion of the Link to the Past randomizer and Crypt of the Necrodancer, and it makes this beautiful thing that if you fit the cross-section of that Venn diagram, you were going to be the happiest person of all time. The soundtrack is, of course, transcendent. It's super good. I just, like, didn't bite that hard, because it just, for me, it was just, like, a lot going on, and, like, if I wanted to learn how to play it, it'd be a lot of learning to do. So, I didn't dive in super hard, but man, it's good. Man, it's good. Link's Awakening. Okay, I haven't played the first one. I'm giving it an A. The game's, I was just, like, smiling the whole time. I could not stop smiling when I was playing this game. It was such a joy. Is it the deepest Zelda game? Absolutely not. Is it even in like my top 5 Zelda games? I don't even know. But I had so much fun playing it. I had a blast. It was so much, like, the soundtrack was so unbelievably good. It's all remixes and stuff like that. All things brushed up. So good. The engine is one of the single best game engines I've seen in a long time, like in terms of just pure presentation. Unbelievable. It's a game from the 90s wrapped up in a Switch package. It's fine. The gameplay was fine. TTYD and Minish Cap are better. Majora's Mask is better. Breath of the Wild's better. Like, you got better Zelda games than Link's Awakening. It's really good, though, and it is an absolute trip. Like, I love how dreamy the game is and how nightmarish in a fun way. It's like kind of like a fever dream, and it's so good. Absolutely loved it. It's a blast. Again, not as deep as some of those Zelda games, but man, it's good. We're putting one in the E tier. I couldn't get through it, because I've played, like, a lot of Borderlands 2. I've played a lot of Borderlands 2. Man, Borderlands 3 sucked. It was so... like, Zagreus and I played dozens and dozens and dozens of hours. I don't say plural of hundreds, but maybe, of Borderlands 2. We, playing together, didn't get through the campaign once. It's so average. I mean, I am just stunned. It's not, at this point, I think it's not broken. It was a little broken at release. I am stunned at how much it was literally just Borderlands 2. A game that came out in, what, the early 2010s, late aughts? You can't do that. You can, they clearly did, but, like, that's so boring. I was so bored. It was literally Borderlands 2, slightly updated. That's so sad. The writing sucked. The game was not fun. I did not enjoy it. That's what I got. Yeah, it was rough. I don't want to belabor it. It was, again, totally fine. If you like Borderlands, that's cool. More power to you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I wish I could have. I just didn't. Untitled Goose Game. Honestly, I think maybe C tier. I kind of, like, I loved it. I really enjoyed it, but I was just sort of like, yeah, that was cute. I didn't feel like it was a... it didn't quite click with me as, like, a transcendent sort of... Most people talked about this game as though it was like a big sort of landing point in indie design, where it was like, hey, this is a major high watermark for, like, an interesting indie design. And it was cool. I really enjoyed it, but, like, there's a lot of fun puzzle games. And this one got really frustrating AI, and, like, it was super cute. The art style was gorgeous. Maybe it's B tier. Actually, no, it's B tier. Games that I enjoyed that I didn't think about much after I played them. It was fine. Oops, sorry. It was totally fine. Where is the game that's here? Oh, Zelda, I see. It was totally fine. I just think not that... There wasn't that much to it. I think that's totally fine. I think playing it months after the memes hit, I was expecting so much more than I got. And it was a really cute one-note thing that ended when it was supposed to. I was so happy that the game did its one thing, developed it in shockingly deep ways, and then just let it go. It was like, hey, we're done. And I was so happy with that. It was over. I was released. And I enjoyed it a lot, but it's cute. I think at the end of the day, it's a very, very cute, very worth playing indie puzzle game. And give it a shot. It's a ton of fun, got a great sensibility to it. Couple frustrating segments with the enemy AI being just like a little bit all over the place. But aside from that, though, oh, loved it. But again, I loved it while I was playing it. Afterward, I was like, yeah, it was fine. Baba Is You. I barely played this game, so I can't put it in the S tier. But I'm gonna put it in the A tier. It's so good. It's like so good. I cannot express enough how good this game is. Gotta move these around a little bit. Baba Is You is really smart. Again, I haven't finished it, so I can't speak to the whole game. But man, it is one of the cleverest puzzle games I've seen in a while. And maybe I haven't played the good puzzle games, but this is a really good one. So that's all I gotta say. It makes my brain hurt aggressively. I can't play it for too long because it's demoralizing. This is why I recorded a bunch of YouTube episodes for it, and I just like was getting nothing done in 20 minutes, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So the game's absolute blast. It's very almost coding-like in that it has its own internal syntax that you're manipulating, but you're manipulating it like a Sokoban or like a crate-moving puzzle. So it's this very bizarre mashup of like the coding style games where you're trying to piece together this game's internal puzzle language, but you're doing it while also moving the physical blocks of words to fit in the way you have to fit them together. Making a discovery in this game is one of the single most satisfying things I've ever had in a video game. Like when you realize how the system works in a level, it is like this transcendent revelation handed to you from on high, and it is so good. So for that alone, I think it's got to go in the A tier. Control. Oh, let's get Pokemon out of the way. Pokemon C. Pokemon's gonna be C tier. I think for a game that I enjoyed but was heavily flawed in some major ways. But let's say again for like its game feel, for its lack of just like, for its relative jank overall. Like Bloodstained just feels kind of awkward. Pokemon is also fine, and I've enjoyed it a lot, and I think that there's a lot of good going on with it. The fact that I wasn't like bored was great. New designs are super good. Really, I mean, this game's got Snom. How bad could it be, right? Let me reiterate that I think Bloodstained and Pokemon in the C tier. Super good games that I would recommend, but just like some stuff holding me back from like giving my whole heart to them. And yeah, Pokemon. It's another Pokemon game. I think I wanted a little more innovation. Not that I should have expected that, but I just wanted a little more out of it, and it was great. Like the single player campaign, very enjoyable. But I think at the end of the day, the problem that I have is that long term, you either shiny hunt or you play competitively. And I'm not, shiny hunting is kind of, if you enjoy it, that's awesome. Not really for me. That type of RNG is like a little too steep for my taste. Like I like Monster Hunter kind of farming where the RNG is bad, but not like thousands. Like Zachary spent like, you know, a couple thousand attempts getting a encounter Aracuda, and like with the shiny charm and everything, I'm like, that's a lot of days of that, and that's not for me. Or you play competitively, and competitive Pokemon's got some stuff going on that makes it hard for me to get into, just in terms of the commitment to teams, the randomness, like double, triple protect, stuff like that. Like, it's always going to be there. That's not a terrible thing, but it's hard. It's just hard to get into, to get like in the mindset of getting used to it. So I've had some trouble getting into that, but all that said, the most important things for the game, the environments are phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed the new region, and I love the new roster. And that's kind of enough for me to have really, really enjoyed it. I just think for, at this point, to get a Pokemon game out of like you know, to get out of the zone of, it's a Pokemon game, I obviously played it, because I'm a Pokemon fan, I've played all of them, of course I'm going to play this one, of course I enjoyed it, but to get it out of that sort of zone of course I liked it, it's Pokemon, to a thing that was like, whoa, that was a great game, we need some push. I think a lot of the systems are great, a lot to love about it. The raids in the wild area are genius, but just not pushed quite enough, I think. It feels very basic once you get through the first section of it. Like, in the end game, there's not a lot to do. Like, you kind of raid or go to the Lake of Outrage, and that's kind of it. That's what I got. Sekiro, easy S tier. This game is ridiculously good. Holy cow. FromSoft outdid themselves, and I will say these are the last two because I was making a top 10 list before I did the tier list, and these are the top two games for sure. And I think Sekiro's number 2, which surprised me. It surprised me a lot because I loved Sekiro, and I, as you all know, am like obsessed with FromSoft games. Man, Sekiro's really good. I've talked about this game on and off endlessly for the past year, and it's so good. I just started playing a new run of it recently on stream, and it's so good. The game is stunningly good. It is the tightest game FromSoft made. It is one of the tightest games I've ever played. Everything is so precise. Everything is so precision engineered because they instead of the wide variety of builds you can produce in a Bloodborne or Dark Souls or something like that, you have exactly one character who's got one sword, X number of defensive options that are all pretty static, a skill tree that you can fill out, so you have access to all of that, and a couple side equipments that you can use that are kind of like items. And that's it. So every encounter is built to be this phenomenal, perfect, precision-engineered, laser-cut fight, where, unlike a game like Nioh, where the fights feel super, super well-paced, but built to handle everything from, the regular sword to the two-handed axe and hammer and stuff, this game everything is so tiny timing. It's perfect. Like, the Genichiro fights are this constant onslaught of sword fighting, and I've never had, I think, a better sword fight in the game than against the final boss in any game. It was unbelievably amazing. I think my reservations in making it number 1 are that I was really hungry for that build diversity in Dark Souls games. I think you lose that when you add the precision of this game. Just, again, the block times are so tight because they know what you have access to. The fight, and more importantly, the offensive windows to do damage are super, super, super tight. There's so much to explore, but I was really hungry to start up New Game Plus with a new build, and I couldn't do that. And I was like, hey, I was looking forward to that. And you kind of can. You can mess around with different equipment. You can do a little bit of respecking in terms of your skill tree, but at the end of the day, it's kind of the same game again, and that's fine. But I keep going back to Dark Souls because I can do new things, and I can't do that here. And given that the game is very, very clearly heavily based on the same thing, I think it's perhaps the best engineered game out of the lot, or one of the best. It's up there with Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1. But in terms of my personal attachment to it, I think that that decision made me not want to go back as often. So I could say I talk about this game for ages, and if you want to hear more, let me know. But otherwise, that's that. Man, Control. I played it the last week of the year, so I feel kind of a little unfair that it topped the list. This game's so good. I went into this expecting another AAA sci-fi shooter with some cool aesthetics, and what I got is a game that more than deserved its Game Award for Best Art Design, and really got me. This is one of the best shooters I've ever played. That's maybe a little unfair. It's up there though, maybe top 10. And it's in terms of third-person stuff, right? It's so good. Every weapon in the game feels fantastic because the art direction's so good, and the sound design's so good, and the environments in this ever-shifting bureau are absolutely a treat for the senses. Visually, in terms of the way that just mostly visually, to be fair. But the sound design's phenomenal. The enemies are varied enough to be really engaging and offer a bunch of different opportunities to engage with different stuff. And more importantly, the game's got launched. The game put together the best gravity gun I had ever used, and made that, like, just a thing you can do. It is not only an extremely flexible gravity gun that can grab pretty much any object in the environment and use it as a weapon against your opponents, it can, at will, grab random parts of the floor and ceiling so you're never out of gravity gun ammo, making it just like the single most flexible offensive option I've seen in a game in a long time. And combining that with some other powers you unlock as the game progresses, gives you this ridiculously evolving tools box of offensive and defensive options that makes the combat just an absolute joy every second, and I'm really looking forward to playing the expansion next year. On top of all that, you have this layer of an incredibly engaging thriller plot that's got really, really smart use of FMV and environmental audio logs and environmental logs, and add on top of that, the first game I've seen outside of like Stalker, maybe, to really dig into this particular brand of sci-fi that I will anachronistically brand as SCP wiki related. That is just an absolute joy to read through, and scary and thrilling, and on top of that, a great main character who's got a ton of internal life going on and a lot of personal conflicts that are really, really engaging, and extrapolate that across a cast of characters who are really, really fun to work with. And you got this amazing thing that also happens to be a super well put together, really ridiculously polished AAA game, and we've got like the Prey of this year, except probably better. Like, I don't know, Prey versus Control is a hard one for me because I love the Prey reboot, but man, Control, I think it's got to be game of the year, and it's got to be, man, it's so good. I can't wait for the expansion. An absolute blast. And yeah, let me double check to make sure you didn't miss anything, but I believe that is the games. If I forgot a game that I played, I'm very sorry to that game, and anybody who likes the game, including me, because I probably liked it too. But this is what I remembered of playing games that released in 2019. I do play a lot of games that don't release in the current year, so yeah, that's what I got, folks. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been a blast making this video, and if you guys want to see more like it, please let me know. This is something new for me, obviously, this type of content, and I would love to do some more of it. So stay tuned for more from me. And that's what I got for this year's lineup. It's a little lopsided. I figured it'd be mostly A tier and B tier because it's like, it's how I feel. I really enjoyed this year's games. I don't think it was much of a bloodbath for end of year stuff as 2018 was, but man, 2019 was a great year for games, and I am looking forward to 2020, especially March. Good lord, March is gonna be a problem. But yeah, really, anything on this list except for Borderlands, maybe the D tier stuff, I'd heartily recommend you play. If you're looking into it, like C tier is like the rest. It's like you play it if you like these things, and then B tier and up, it's like play these. They're great. Really enjoyed them. So hopefully you all enjoyed the content. Let me know what you think, because it's all new for me, and hopefully I will see you all in the next one. But until next time, enjoy yourselves, get some rest, and peace out.